Thank you so much, Mayor. I appreciate it. Members of the Town Council, Chief, nice to see you again. Hector, obviously nice to see you again. And then members of the public, we're actually going to be displaying the statistics and the information here. So I think you'll be interested in what we're going to talk about tonight. One of my main jobs is try to keep Pinal County safe. And that's what we've been working towards diligently. We started a special victims unit last year, which was dedicated to prosecuting crimes against children. They get specialized training. We have special investigators to make sure that kids in our county are safe. We've also done some other things in reformulating some of the office, and we've changed the philosophy of the office to figure out which cases affect our community the most. We're looking for those who are repeat offenders to prosecute them harshly. And I say that specifically, prosecute them harshly, because it's a very small percentage, 3 to 5% of people who commit about 80% of the crime here in this county. And so if we can get those folks off the street, I believe we can keep the county and this town safe. But I'm here to report the information and just the stats and the statistics about what is happening in this town so that you all get an overview about what I see so that we can react and maybe discuss this with your chief of police. So let's go through this. I want to start with this past year, 2025. 2025, we saw a total of 25 cases, 14 felonies, and 11 misdemeanors. Unfortunately for this town, crime is going up. Felonies are going up. And in fact, we're seeing more and increased types of felonies, including drug trafficking cases. The most serious patterns include aggravated assault, narcotic and dangerous drug possession, burglaries, criminal damage, and then of course on the misdemeanor level we're seeing disorderly conduct, threatening, and resisting arrest. This year showed a combination of acute safety threats, which were the aggravated assault and drug sales, burglaries, and chronic behavioral issues, including threatening, disorderly conduct, and a lot of driving cases. That's something we're going to talk about a little bit. But we need to put all these numbers in context. I want to show you a little bit of last year. Or first, let's talk about 2025. We actually see a pattern of where most of the crime is occurring here in the town, and that is right there on Main Street. Where those red dots are is where the crimes are occurring. You can see they're concentrated in those particular areas. A dot means a particular crime that we saw. And we're going to have these available, so any of the members of the public who want to see these, we can actually show you street by street level what we're seeing and where all of the crimes are occurring. I want to go to 2024 to kind of give you a comparison. 2024, we saw 16 cases, 10 felonies, 5 misdemeanors, and a civil traffic case. But the severity was significantly lower. We saw some serious cases, including a discharge of a firearm, trafficking in stolen property, but 2024 reflected kind of a mixture or kind of a medium type of threat risk. Some of the top themes in 2024 were DUI, aggravated DUI, excessive speed, narcotic drug possession, and drug paraphernalia. And this is where we want to really get into what are we seeing in the stats? What are we seeing in the criminal activity? We see in 2023, and we're going to hit that here in a second, 2023 and 2024, drug possession, drug paraphernalia types of cases. Where we get into 2025, we're seeing those drug sales. So those dealers are moving into town. And that's something that we want to target and we want to look at and maybe potentially run some sting operations with your police department to try to get these folks out of this town. And I think if we can grab a few of these folks, then we can drop the crime rate significantly. 2024 reflected substance abuse dangers. What we're seeing in the statistics through all 3 years, because we're just going to talk about 23, 24, and 25, is that drugs seem to lead to all the other crime. That seems to be the linchpin. And I know we've worked for decades and decades on the war on drugs. And we've tried multiple different types of theories of going soft on drugs, not soft on drugs. But what my office is doing is we look at multiple paths for people who are trafficking in drugs, possessing in drugs. We actually do, if it's a first-time felony offender, we actually do a full screening process where we see if this person can be diverted. Can we bring them through classes? Can we show them evidence-based teachings to try to get them off that path of drugs? Maybe it's a financial issue, a family issue, mental health problems. We look to see if that's potentially a path where we can take these folks. If they can't meet those screening criteria, then we have to go through the criminal justice process, where it has been the philosophy and the policies of my office that we prosecute these cases harshly. Because as I said, we're seeing this all, in fact, county-wide. That's one of the things that I'm doing, is going town by town, city by city throughout the entire county, and going through these criminal statistics for this very purpose, so that you all know what's happening in your town. You probably do know some of this, but now you have statistics to back it up. Now let's go on to 2023.
Can I?
Absolutely. Yes, Mayor.
My question is that, is there, with your presentation and these statistics, you put them together, and is there an avenue of extra funding for the town that would help us out? You know, like, to help boost up the crime prevention efforts here?
Yeah, great question, Mayor. I appreciate that very much. So one of the things that I'm offering to you is I have investigators who work for my office that are trained. Some of them have been there for 30 years. Some have worked. We actually are we're very blessed to have the resources in this county and the folks in my office. We have statisticians. We have guys who work narcs. We have men and women who have worked child crimes, drug cases, gang cases. So we can actually bring in and potentially do an assessment here in this town, and then also work with your chief of police. That's what we're offering. We can offer your folks training. So you're talking about funding, maybe not direct funding, but we certainly provide training in my office. And we invite any of your folks to come for free training. And we could talk about some of these things that are happening countywide.
I'm just thinking like funding, like there's the PAL program in the big cities.
Yep.
Where I know that law enforcement has this thing where like summer basketball, get the kids off the street, blah, 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 and this and that.
Oh, you're talking about directed toward the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, if you want to work
We can talk further on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk afterward, Mayor. I appreciate that. But I think one of the things we can do is we could maybe put our heads together if you wanted to come down to my office, and we can work out a program where we can actually have some of my prosecutors, maybe some of our investigators, come in and do presentations to the schools. That's one thing that I've done multiple times in Santan Valley and in Casa Grande, to talk to the kids to see if we can keep them away from these issues too. So yeah, that's a good point. So that wouldn't necessarily require funding. We could just do it. That could all come through my office. All right, 2023. So what you're going to see in 2023 is, in fact, there is more cases. 22, obviously not as many as 2025. But again, the severity is lower. We're seeing patterns of interpersonal violence, property crimes, minor property crimes, driving-related offenses, and of course, public safety issues like disorderly conducts. In 2023, we saw an assault, threatening, and intimidating, drug paraphernalia charges, burglary, theft, trespass, DUI. We actually had one misconduct involving weapons case. But here's really the big takeaway from all of this.
What was the breakdown on those 22 cases? How many of those were felonies and how many of those were misdemeanors?
In 2023, we had 11 felonies, 11 misdemeanors. And I can give you the exact, so in 2023, I actually have a whole case breakdown of every single case that we had. And I can send this out and you can share it with members of the public. This isn't private information, but I have every single case, what it was, what the charge was. So I can give that to you. All right, let's talk about what all this means and why we're even presenting this. Is this town has a drug problem. This town has a crime problem that's escalating. That's something that we want to stop now. So I beg you, please work with my office. I know the chief certainly will because of our connection here. I truly do enjoy this town. Obviously, I work for this town, and I want to make sure that this town is safe. But we're seeing escalating crime, but it appears to be drug related with the drug traffickers coming into town. We did have one case of sex offender registration violation in 2025, but a lot of violence, a lot of threats, and high impact types of cases escalating. So please work with my office. I know we will, to see if we can to knock these numbers down, get those few % of people off the streets so we can get this crime rate down.